I don't think I was supposed to figure this out. If you guys met me when I was younger, I was shy, I was anxious, I was awkward, and I was terrible with women. And not in like a cute kind of way. I mean, I was genuinely terrified. Like, women scared me. I had no idea what I was doing. So today, I want to share my story. And I'm hoping that you guys will find some inspiration in this to know that if I was able to make the transformation that I made coming from where I was, that you can do it too. Well, I'll start my story in high school. I didn't go to my junior prom. I did go to my senior prom. I wasn't much of a party person anyway. I wasn't very social. So proms didn't really have much meaning to me. But I remember going with a girl that I really didn't know that well. She was friends with my friends, but she went to a different school. So she just needed to come as my date just so she can hang out with the rest of us. And since I wasn't about to ask any other girls out, I was like, okay, that's fine. And I remember at some point during this prom, this girl comes over saying that her friend wanted to slow dance. And at the time, I was super nervous, but I was also like, okay, this is kind of cool. So when the slow dance music came on, I walked over to her and I said, hey, let's dance. And I remember my hands sweating profusely. Like it was almost disgusting. I didn't even say a word except, would you like to dance? We just awkwardly kind of swayed back and forth and I kind of did my thing and that was it. And I remember when the song was over, I remember just saying thank you and I kind of ran off. I was so nervous that I, to this day, I can't believe I actually went over and actually slow danced with this girl. But that was me. That was me back in high school. And the reality is, college wasn't much different. I did not have much of a college experience. I went for engineering and I went to a very, very nerdy, like technical school. I lived off campus with my grandparents at the time, so I didn't have much interaction with people. And even if I did, there weren't that many women on campus anyway. Fortunately, I did have a couple of friends from high school who also went to that college, and one of them ended up becoming the president of his fraternity. And that was a huge thing for me because he invited me to all of his like all the open parties at least, not the closed, mixers and stuff like that. But that was it. That was pretty much the extent of my college experience. Was one big party every semester, and then maybe a little get together here and there. Um, and I was sort of an honorary frat member. I was allowed to go to all the restricted places and all the places that was frat brothers only. So it was good. It was a good experience. But I didn't know how to meet people, and I didn't know what to say to people. I didn't know how to be around people. I just felt awkward. Like everything I said, everything I did just didn't feel right. And this constant anxiety and judgment that I had for myself at the time was really the undertone of all my social interactions. The best way I can describe it is I was kind of the guy who was always just there. I never really made an impact, never really made a splash. People didn't necessarily remember me significantly, but they always remembered that I was there. So nothing spectacular. But then something happened. I met a girl, as one invariably does. I was 21 at the time, and she was, I think, maybe 19 or 20 or something like that. She was a roommate of a friend of mine from high school, female friend actually, one of the few that I had. We just clicked. The conversations went really, really well, and I don't know why, but I just felt compelled to do something about it. I awkwardly went over to her place. I had her number. Like I didn't like text her or call her or anything. I awkwardly went over to her place and like she came out to the door and I was like, "Oh, hey, like let's go for a walk for a few minutes, right?" And she was like, "Okay. This is kind of weird, but okay." And we walked around the parking lot and she was in her socks. Like she wasn't expecting to go out on a walk. And I was like, "Oh, hey, what weather we're having tonight?" And then eventually I managed to summon the guts to actually be like, "Listen, I like you." And I told her how I feel. And I asked her out on a date. And I was like, "Would you like to go out with me sometime?" And she was like, "Yeah, sure." And I was like, "Great. I have your number. Like, I'll get in touch with you." Like, I did everything wrong. Okay. But by some miracle, I guess she liked me enough that she said yes. This is that moment where I genuinely felt like my life had changed. I was ecstatic. I was so happy. I couldn't believe that a girl this amazing just said yes and agreed to go out on a date with me. I was so excited that I texted her every day and I even tried to call her every day. She never answered. At the very least, like, she was responding by text, which I thought was amazing. Keep in mind that I still hadn't actually scheduled a date. Like, I had no idea what to do. I didn't know where to go. Like, I wasn't a social guy. I never went out and like did anything. So the simple fact is, like, I never actually asked her out on a date, and I was blowing up her phone every day. And finally, she just texts me back and she says, I'm not interested in going on a date anymore. And this hit me harder than anything I had experienced before. It was a truly ground shaking experience in my life. This was the moment in my life where I slipped into depression. I would just lay in bed for hours staring at the ceiling. I tried not to think. It's one of those moments that I can genuinely relate with people who have been depressed. A lot of people think that it is something that is big, that something catastrophic needs to happen. It doesn't need to be. It just needs to be, as the saying goes, the straw that breaks the camel's back. And for me, this was that moment. This moment was the straw that broke the camel's back, and I felt worthless. I felt completely empty, like I had no hope, I had no future, that I was going to be alone for the rest of my life. There's an internet quote that I had found a number of years ago, which I think describes depression really, really well. Everything tastes like potatoes. Potatoes taste like potatoes. Your favorite food tastes like potatoes. A milkshake tastes like potatoes. Everything tastes like potatoes. And at some point, you get tired of eating potatoes all the time. And so you just stop eating. This was me. I wasn't hungry. I was laying in bed. I was someone who had no hope and no future. And this went on for, I would say, probably about 3 months. And while I never contemplated my own existence or aliveness, I can relate with people who can, because I know that if the next thing didn't happen, that was the dark road that I was headed down. The thing is, though, I've only actually told that story to a couple of people, maybe 2, 3 at most. Nobody really knows. And nobody knew that I was depressed at the time because I wasn't social. I didn't have any friends. I didn't have anyone that I talked to. And so I just kind of dwelled on it. Part of that dwelling on it actually led to my transformation. One morning, I woke up and I laid in bed for an hour, 2 hours, just staring at the ceiling, as I did for so many weeks before that. And a question that crept into my mind that would change my life forever: why can't I get a girlfriend? I laid in bed staring at the ceiling and thought about that question. And I mulled it over and I tried to forget it and I thought about other things, but it kept coming back. It was that question that just kept nagging at me. So finally, I got out of bed. I went over to my computer. I went to the Google search, but I remember typing into the Google search bar, "Why can't I get a girlfriend?" And an Ask Men article popped up. Keep in mind that this was before the age of ad blockers. But I went on to this Ask Men article, and I didn't read the article, but I looked. There was a banner ad on the side for David D'Angelo's Double Your Dating program. It was the only impulse buy that I had made up to that point in my life. I knew that I needed to change. I knew that there was only one way out. And if this was my ticket out of this depression, out of this life, and it gave me a future, I needed to take it. I bought his program and I started learning obsessively. I remember failing multiple college courses because I spent more time studying this dating program than I did studying for my math classes. And I can say, looking back on this, that finding the right coach at the right time is priceless. You could always make more money, but your life is now and it's forever. If it's something that will change your life, I don't think you can even put a price tag on. If I hadn't found this program exactly when I did, I know that at best, I would just be another simpy dude. I'd be completely clueless with women. I never would have figured it out. And I absolutely never would be here talking to you guys as a coach. I spent thousands of hours studying, not just this program, but other ones that I had found along the way. I consumed content voraciously. I took notes on everything. In fact, to this day, I have such copious notes on this Double Your Dating program that I probably have a word for word transcript. That's how copious notes that I took. Even though it's only about 20, maybe 24 hours worth of actual footage, I spent days, weeks even, studying this program. But looking back, it wasn't the information that changed me. In fact, I don't even remember most of it anyway. But it was this idea that stuck with me. It was the idea that I could decide who I was, that my life was a product of my choices, that the things that I do matter. This is what destiny feels like. It was through this education that my eyes were opened. I was convinced of something that I didn't even have proof of, that I was a guy that women actually wanted. I had no evidence that I was this guy. I was awful. I was clueless. The one girl that I fell in love with had rejected me. Every other woman just didn't even see me. Like I was completely unattractive, not even on their radar. But I was convinced that this was my reality. I was born to be a ladies' man. And so I started acting like it. And I did so intentionally. It was everything. It was the way that I talked. It was the way that I dressed, the stories that I shared, even the jokes that I made. I stopped making jokes about, oh, I'm forever alone. Oh, I'm still a virgin. And I started making jokes about how women were breaking down my door trying to be with me. Even if it was ridiculous, it didn't matter. It was the mindset shift. I started lining up every aspect of my life to meet this person that I was. And there's a part that still surprises me, even to this day. It's so crazy to me that people believed me. Even women who had known me for years, since high school, a couple of female friends I stayed in touch with, I think it was 2, these girls never questioned it. Nobody thought it was weird. They just assumed, oh, Ethan's become a player. It felt like a switch had flipped, even though there was nothing fundamentally different about me on the outside. This is what I want to show you guys with this story. You get to choose who you are. No matter who you were in the past, no matter who you are today, your future is your choice. Unfortunately, a lot of dating advice is centered around the self-help trap. There's a lot of dating advice that tries to make you not feel good enough, that you aren't good enough as a man, that only by using their program and their advice that you can possibly become the type of man who might maybe one day get the results you actually want. It's designed to make you feel insecure about who you are. But the reality couldn't be further from the truth. My life changed. Not when I became confident. Not when I got better with women and I had all these girls around me. It changed when I started being honest with myself, with who I was in that moment. Not tomorrow, but today. How was I showing up today in the world? What was my story? My story had changed. Looking back, all the success that I'd had couldn't possibly have come from lines and gimmicks or anything like that, any superficial things. It was about alignment with who I was supposed to be as a man. It was how I lived. It was how I thought. It was how I showed up. It didn't feel like work. I didn't need to try. It's not a matter of doing more lines, more routines, more knowledge, more education. It's about letting go. It's about being, not doing. So if you are in this place where you feel stuck or behind, like other guys just get it and you don't, I get it. I was there. I lived that. I was that guy for many years. All I did to change was decide. I decided that I was going to be different. I decided that I was going to be the man that I dreamed that I could be. And if you are trying to decide who you're supposed to be and you need some help, I created a free alignment worksheet, and you can get that when you sign up for my newsletter. There's a link in the description. My name is Ethan. I started the Men's Lab to help guys get real results through alignment. If you're tired of conventional dating wisdom and the primitive solutions that they provide, I can help. You can see the links in the description. If you like this video, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button if you want to get updated on future videos. Otherwise, I appreciate you guys watching all the way to the end. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.